Good day, everyone. So for today's video, I am going to discuss Chapter 3, Causes of Total and Partial Extinction of Criminal Liability. So what are the causes of total extinction of criminal liability under Article 89 of the RPC or the Revised Penal Code? So when we say total extinction of criminal liability, ito ay yung tuluyang pag-alis ng criminal liability ng isang tao. Okay? Ano-ano nga ba ito? Number 1, we have the death of the convict. Okay? Death of convict extinguishes criminal liability at any stage of the criminal proceeding. So, civil liability is likewise extinguished if death occurs before final judgment. If death occurs, there will be nobody to serve the penalty for the crime. The death of the convict, whether before or after final judgment, extinguishes criminal liability because one of the juridical conditions of penalty is that it is personal. Of course, pagka ang tao ay namatay at siya ay nag-a-undergo ng criminal proceedings, syempre, it will extinguish his or her criminal liability. Matatanggal po ito since isa po sa kondisyon ng penalty is that penalty must be personal. Okay? Kung sino ang nag-commit ng crime, siya din ang dapat na parusahan. So, since namatay na ang convict or namatay na ang offender, sino pa ang magsaserve ng sentence para doon sa crime na na-commit niya? Okay? So, one of the causes of total extinction is death of the convict. So, what are the effects of death of the accused? Letter A, death of the offender before or during trial. If death occurs before or during the trial, the criminal case must be dismissed. So, take note, kailangan pong i-dismiss ang kaso if the case of the offender or the accused is during or before the trial. This is so because of the preservation of the constitutional rights of the deceased accused, who would not be anymore in a position to defend himself. Further, it would be useless to proceed because the ends of the criminal justice, which is the retribution and rehabilitation, could not anymore be served. There would no be convict upon whom the personal penal consequence of the offense could be imposed. Neither is there a culprit who needs a rehabilitation. So, tama naman, di ba? If the accused died before or during the trial, okay? Useless siya kasi nga, sino nga ba ang paparusahan? Sino nga ba ang mag-undergo ng rehabilitation? Okay? There will be no more to serve the said sentence. Okay? Next, letter B, death of the accused pending appeal. How about naman kapag siya ay umaapila at namatay? Okay? The death of the accused pending appeal of his conviction will extinguish his criminal liability as well as his civil liability arising from the crime committed. So, ganun pa rin po yun. Pag namatay po siya while he is on appeal or nag-a-apply siya for appeal, okay, still his criminal liability will be extinguished. Maalis po yun. Total extinguishment. And another, letter C, while death pending appeal extinguishes criminal liability, the court may still review the case. Okay? Is it possible na kahit namatay na yung convict, ay re-reviewin pa rin ng Supreme Court ang kanyang kaso? So, yes. Okay? The accused death pending appeal of his conviction results to automatic dismissal of charges. But the Supreme Court may, however, review the case if the accused is found innocent. Kasi papaano nga ba? Kung for example, namatay nga yung offender, nung umapila siya, they found out that he is innocent. Okay? So, they shall render the appropriate judgment. Ibibigay pa rin yung pinaka-hatol ng ating court. Okay? It should be belated, though it may vindicate his solid honor and redeem his memory from an undeserved accusation. So, kahit naman at the end of his life, okay, mapatunayan pa rin naman na hindi talaga siya nagkasala sa ating batas. At nang sa ganon, malinisan naman yung kanyang pangalan sa community na hindi nga talaga siya isang kriminal. Okay? Another causes of total extinction of criminal liability under Article 89 of the Revised Penal Code, number 2 is service of sentence. Of course, after the convict service sentence, his criminal liability is automatically extinguished. However, service of sentence does not extinguish civil liability. So, ibig sabihin, syempre, pagka ang convict, na-serve na niya ang lahat ng sentence na ipinataw ng korte, syempre, maaalis na po ang kanyang mga civil liability. I should say, the criminal liability. But then, however, kahit na na-serve mo na ang sentence mo, pero hindi mo pa rin nababayaran ang mga civil liability mo, hindi po yun may extinguish. So, separate po ang criminal liability sa civil liability. Okay? Another causes of total extinction is amnesty. Okay? Amnesty is granted by proclamation of the chief executive, so yung ating mahal na Pangulo, with the concurrence of the Congress. It is a public act of which the court should take judicial notice. Criminal action or liability is totally extinguished by amnesty. It completely extinguishing the penalty and all its effects. So, ibig sabihin, once the group, kasi nga ang amnesty ay binibigay sa group of person who commits crime, especially if that is a political crime, okay, ginagrant po yan ng chief executive and also with the concurrence of the Congress, okay. It will wipe away all the criminal liability and all its effects. Okay? So, amnesty is an act of sovereign power, granting oblivion. Pag sinabing granting oblivion, it is a general pardon since ibinibigay nga ito sa isang grupo ng tao. Okay? And it is rarely, if ever, exercised in favor of a single individual. It is usually exerted in behalf of a certain classes of person who are subjected to that but have not yet been convicted. So, maaaring sila ay hindi pa convicted but they can be qualified for amnesty. Okay? So, once amnesty is granted, okay, the criminal liability will also be total extinguished. Another is absolute pardon. Okay? For absolute pardon, it looks forward and relieves the offender from the consequences of an offense of which he has been convicted. Okay? An absolute pardon not only blots out the crime committed, but also removes all disabilities resulting from conviction. Okay? Ang absolute pardon po kasi, once it is granted to a person, it will extinguish all the criminal liability as if no crime committed. Okay? Parang walang nangyari. Kasi nga, for absolute pardon, there will be no conditions na ibibigay ng ating presidente. Okay? Furthermore, mare-restore lahat ng civil and political rights. Okay? Lahat po yun, i-restore, ibabalik sa iyo. Okay? Like what happened to Robin Padilla. He was being pardoned by President Duterte. Okay. Next, Number 5, we have prescription of penalty. Okay? So, for prescription of penalty, it is the loss or waiver of the state or its right to punish the convict. So, in other words, prescription of penalty is the loss or forfeiture of the right of the government to execute the final sentence after the lapse of a certain time. So, pag sinabing prescription of penalty, okay? So, once nag-prescribe na yon, nag-expire na yung penalty, hindi na po maaaring i-prosecute yung tao na yon ng ating gobyerno. Okay? Prescription of penalty occurs when the convict escapes from the detention or evades the service of sentence. Evasion of service of sentence is a condition precedent to the running of the period. Okay, the tolling of the period of prescription of penalty occurs when he commits another crime or is captured or goes another country with which the Philippines has no extradition treaty. So, for example, si Mr. A ay nakulong. Okay? After 5 years, sabi natin after 5 years, siya ay tumakas. He evaded his sentence. So, ngayon, siya na ngayon ay at large. Okay? Siya na ngayon ay pugante. So, ang nangyari dyan, it's been 20 years since nag-evade siya ng sentence. Well, in fact, ang kanyang service of sentence lamang po ay 15 years. Okay? So, once nag-expire, yung 15 years na yon, hindi na po pwedeng i-aresto siya ulit at ikulong para i-serve niya yung or i-continue niya yung kanyang sentence noon na 5 years. So, hindi na po kasi po nag-expire na po siya. Kasi yung time na siya ay nakatakas, nag-run po yung time niya, doon na po nag-e-expired na din yung period ng kanyang sentence. Okay? So, unless nag-commit siya ulit ng another crime. Okay? Prescription period means the period with which a specified action must be filed. Okay? So, how about number 6, prescription of crime or offense? Okay? Refers to the loss or waiver of the right of the state to prosecute offenders after the lapse of certain time. It cannot be waived or extended since it is for the benefit of the accused. Once prescription is set in, the courts automatically lose jurisdiction. Okay? Magkaiba po ito kanina. Yung pong kanina ay prescription of the penalty. Ang tinutukoy po natin ay yung kanyang isa-serve na sentence. Dito naman po ay yung pagpe-prescribe ng crime or offense. Okay? So, crimes are not immediately penalized due to the circumstances that deter the offended party from filing criminal charges. So, sometimes, it may take years for the offenders or perpetrators to pay for the crime they committed. However, the law prescribes a specific time within which an offender may be prosecuted. So, bibigyan po, yung ating batas, binibigyan po kung kailan lamang po pwedeng i-prosecute ang isang tao. Okay? So, why is it important to know the prescription period of time? Okay? Thus, the guilty person go unpunished if the commission of violation already lapses, okay, the prescription period. The offended party or the proper authorities will lose their right. Kumbaga, pagka hindi ka na nakapag-file, hindi na yun pwede pag nag-prescribe na po yung period of time. Mawawalan ka na po ng karapatang mag-file ng charges sa tao na yon pagka nadaanan na po yung period of time kung kailan ka po dapat nag-file ng charges. Okay? Even the authorities na authorized na mag-file ng charges against sa tao na yon. Okay? The right to prosecute the offender or the perpetrators, they do not take legal actions within the prescribed period. Okay? Under Article 90, prescription of crime is punishable by death, reclusion perpetua, or reclusion temporal. Nagpe-prescribe po yun within 20 years. So, take note, pagka for example, ang kanyang nakumit na crime ay may parusang reclusion perpetua, reclusion temporal, and also death, kailangan po ay ang prescription po ng period ay 20 years. But if that is afflictive penalties, it will prescribe for a period of 15 years. Okay? So next, another causes of total extinction of criminal liability under Article 89 of the RPC. Number 7, we have marriage of offended women under Article 344 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay? So, paano mangyayari yun, ma'am, na mawawala yung kanyang criminal liability kapag ka pinakasalan niya yung offended women, yung victim? Okay? Marriage of the offender with the offended woman after the commission of any crimes of rape, seduction, or acts of lasciviousness as provided in Article 344 must be contracted by the offender in good faith. Kumbaga, magkakaroon ng settlement, magkakaroon ng tawag dito, agreement, wherein kapag ka pinakasalan ni offender, si offended woman, ay pwedeng ma-wipe out yung kanyang criminal liability. For example, si Mr. A, rinape si Ana. Okay, ngayon, nagsampa ng kaso si Ana laban kay Mr. A. But then, Mr. A ay sinabi niya na papakasalan niya si Ana. Okay, ngayon, gusto naman ni Ana, so with that, pwede na pong maalis or matanggal yung criminal liability ni Mr. A. Okay, that could be one of the causes of total extinction of criminal liability. Okay, pwede mo pong pakasalan nang sa ganon, hindi ka po makulong. Another causes of total extinction is number 8, express repeal of penal law. So, sabi dyan, if a law enacted and it provides therein that the criminal liability of the accused is extinguished, then it is express repeal of penal law. Okay? So, pag sinabi yan ng batas na kailangan i-extinguish ang kanyang criminal liability, then so be it. Okay? Next, another is the causes of partial extinction of criminal liability under Article 94 of the Revised Penal Code. Kanina, ang topic natin ay causes of total extinction of criminal liability. Pero sa part na ito is causes of partial. Kumbaga, hindi po totally na mawawipe out yung criminal liability ng isang tao. Kumbaga, meron pa ring certain points na he is still criminally liable. So, ano-ano nga ba ang causes? Number 1 is conditional pardon. Okay, kanina, sa total extinction, meron ang absolute pardon. Okay? Absolute pardon, it wipes out, it blots out all criminal liability. Pero sa part ng conditional pardon, hindi ka po dyan totally malaya. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, from the word itself, conditional pardon, meron pa ring mga kondisyon na binigay ang ating mahal na Pangulo na kailangan mong sundin or i-comply while you are in the community. Okay? So, conditional pardon is any person who have been granted conditional pardon shall incur the obligation of complying strictly with the conditions imposed therein. So, sabi dyan, you are obligated to comply strictly with the conditions imposed. Or otherwise, his non-compliance with the condition shall result in the revocation of the pardon, and the provisions of the Article 159 shall apply to him. Okay? So, ang mangyayari dyan, once you violated the conditions that is imposed to you, okay, possible na mangyayari ay you will be rearrested and reincarcerated. Ibig sabihin, ikaw ay pwedeng maaresto ulit at pwedeng makulong ulit. Okay? Conditional pardon delivered and accepted in considered as a contract between the sovereign power of the executive and the convict that the former will release the latter upon compliance with the conditions. So, pag sinabing conditional pardon, ito po ay kontrata mo between kay President sa Chief Executive. So, pag sinabing kontrata, meron po yan terms and conditions. Okay? Na kapag in exchange sa iyong kalayaan, kailangan mong sundin yung mga ibibigay na kondisyon. Okay? In conditional pardon, the condition usually imposed upon the convict is that he shall not again violate any of the penal laws of the Philippines. So, maaaring ang ibigay na kondisyon ng ating mahal na Pangulo, okay, doon sa grantee is that huwag ka na ulit mag-violate ng any penal laws sa Pilipinas. Okay, and all other conditions na possible ibigay ng mahal na Pangulo. Okay? Next, another is commutation of sentence. So, when we say commutation of sentence, it simply means reduction or mitigation of penalty. Kumbaga, papaiksihin yung ibinigay na sentensya. Okay? Actually, commutation of sentence is another form of executive clemency. Ibinibigay din po yan ng ating mahal na Pangulo. Okay? The commutation of the original sentence for another is if a different length and nature shall have the legal effect of substituting the latter in the place of the former. Okay? So, when we say commutation of sentence, it is a change of decision of the court made by the chief executive by reducing the degree of penalty inflicted upon the convict or by reducing the length of the imprisonment or the amount of the fine. Okay? So, kapag ang korte nagbigay ng sentence sa'yo, pwede yan baguhin ng ating chief executive. Okay? For example, ang binigay ng court ay death. Okay? Or life imprisonment, walang hanggang pagkakakulong. Pwedeng i-commute yan ni President or bawasan or paiksihin sa 30 years. Okay? Kung yan naman po ay may amount, okay, pwede ding ipababa yung amount or fine na ibinigay sa'yo ng korte. And that is the so-called commutation of sentence. Next, we have the good conduct time allowance during confinement or yung tinatawag nating GCTA. Okay, I know you are aware with what is good conduct time allowance since I discussed this during your institutional correction. Okay, the core admin 1. Okay? It is a credit by an inmate which reduces the duration of his incarceration. Magkakaroon po ng reduction or bawas. Okay? Yung pagkakakulong. Okay? It also refers to the time subtracted from a sentence by prison authorities for good behavior or for other reasons. Ma'am, so paano po ba ginagrant talaga ang GCTA? Okay? It can be granted to you if you show good behavior. Kaya nga, good conduct time allowance. In exchange for good behavior, okay, you will be deducted with a certain days per month and for other reasons. Okay? So, who will grant GCTA? Okay? the Director of Corrections may grant GCTA to an inmate for good behavior with no record of disciplinary infractions or violation of prison rules and regulation. Okay, so take note, Director of Correction will be the one to grant good conduct time allowance to an inmate. Okay, so GCTA is the statutory reduction of prisoner's sentence for good behavior during confinement. This is under Article 97 of the Revised Penal Code. So this is automatically applied to all person as long as he does not commit violations of prison rules and regulations. GCTA is a kind of right that can only be denied if the prisoner breaks the rules and only after due process is observed. So take note, good conduct time allowance is a matter of right. But then again, it can be denied if, okay, ang isang reason lang po dyan, if you violated certain rules and regulation inside the jail or prisons. Okay, but still, it will undergo due process. Okay. So we have here the good conduct time allowance under Article 97 of the Revised Penal Code. Kumbaga ito po yung pinakalumang good conduct time allowance na deduction. Okay, sabi po dyan, in the first 2 years of incarceration, sa pinakaunang 2 taon na pagkakakulong, if you show good behavior, pwede kang bawasan ng 5 araw sa isang buwan. Okay, di ba ang ganda? 5 araw ang ibabawas kada buwan as long as you are showing good behavior in the first 2 years na pagkakakulong mo yon. Okay, so kumbaga para na lang 25 days a month. Okay, how about qualified ka na sa 3rd to 5th year? Okay, ngayon, pwede kang madidakan ng 8 na araw or 8 days for each month of good behavior. Okay? For 6 to 10 years, okay? 10 days deduction for each month of good behavior. Okay? And then, from the 11th year and the succeeding years, 11 pataas, na ikaw ay nakakulong sa loob ng kulungan and still you are showing good behavior, ang maaaring mabawas sa iyong sentensya ay 15 days kada isang buwan. So, imagine, 15 days sa isang buwan, parang sa isang taon, nagkakaroon ka na lamang ng 6 months instead of 12 months. Okay? As long as you are showing good behavior. You are not violating any rules and regulations inside the jail or prisons. Okay? That is under Article 97 of the Revised Penal Code. Another is the good conduct entities or good conduct entitles the inmate to the following deduction from his sentence. Ito naman na po yung sa RA 10592 or the Republic Act 10592. Okay, nabago na po yung Article 97 ng RPC. It amends. Okay? Dito na po, in the first 2 years of incarceration, so tignan nyo po yung ating presentation, 20 days in 1 month. Okay? In the first 2 years lang yon ng iyong pagkakakulong, 20 days ang pwedeng mabawas. You are entitled now. Okay? And then for your 3rd to 5th year, you will be entitled for 23 days of deduction for each month of good behavior. From 6th year to 10th year, 25 days deduction. Parang nangyayari na lang dyan ay 5 araw kada isang buwan ang sinaserve mong sentence. How about na lang kung ikaw ay qualified na or nasa 11th year of showing good behavior? You will now be deducted with 30 days for each month. Okay? Wala ka nang sinaserve or halos wala ka nang sinaserve kada isang buwan. That is, yun ang maganda sa part ng RA 10592. You can be deducted of 30 days for each month as long as you are showing good behavior. Kung kanina, 15 days for each month sa Article 97 of the Revised Penal Code. GCTA of detainees or life-termer. So, good conduct time allowance may also be granted to a detainee. Kasi nga, ang sabi natin, if detainee, okay, pag detainee kasi yan, ibig sabihin, wala pa siyang final judgment. He is still undergoing trial or he is still undergoing preliminary investigation. Ma'am, pwede po ba yun? Wala pa naman po siyang service of sentence. Paano po siya mabibigyan ng GCTA? Okay, ganito po yan. Pwede pa rin po mabigyan ang detainee because once siya ay makonvict, doon na po magka-count yung mga good conduct time allowances na nabigay sa kanya. Okay? GCTA may also be granted to a detainee to be deducted from his sentence if convicted. Pag siya ay nabigyan na ng final judgment, doon po i-deduct yung kanyang mga good conduct time allowances na nakuha while he is still detainee. Okay? Provided that he voluntarily offers to perform labor as may be assigned to him during his detention period, such voluntary offer must be in writing. So, dapat nagkaroon kayo ng agreement. Okay? In writing, dapat yan. Nang sa ganun, meron kayong basis pagdating ng kanyang conviction. An inmate whose sentence is life imprisonment but is on appeal is not entitled to GCTA. Take note, pagka ang sentensya po ay panghabang buhay na pagkakakulong or life imprisonment, hindi po sila entitled sa good conduct time allowance. Okay? Next, how about revocation, restoration of good conduct time allowance? Ma'am, pwede po bang ma-revoke yun? Okay, yes. In some other circumstances. Kasi nga po sa RA 10592, pwede pong ma-revoke yun kasi nga if you are being granted before with RA or with Article 97, okay, pag ikaw ay gumawa ng heinous crimes, you are not entitled anymore. So, pwedeng ma-revoke po ang good conduct time allowance. But in general, good conduct time allowance cannot be revoked without just cause. Okay? GCTAs revoked for a cause may be restored at the discretion of the direction or the director of correction upon recommendation of the superintendent. Pwedeng ma-revoke, pero pwede din pong ma-restore, maibalik. Okay? So, yan po yung ating chart for good conduct time allowance to make it simple yung pagkaka-differentiate natin in terms of the Revised Penal Code and the Republic Act 10592. Sa RPC po, yun po yung Article 97. Okay? Republic Act 10592, yan, as a review lang po. In the first 2 years, sa RPC po ay 5 days. Sa Republic Act 10592 is 20 days. And then, 3rd to 5th year of imprisonment is 8 days sa Revised Penal Code and then 23 days sa 10592. During the 6th to 10th year, in the Revised Penal Code is 10 days and in the Republic Act 10592 is 25 days. And also, during the 11th year and the succeeding years, okay, 15 days for Revised Penal Code and then 30 days for Republic Act 10592. Okay? No provision. Okay? Ang tanong po dyan ay, ma'am, pwede po bang madidakan ng mas marami pa sa 30 days kada isang buwan? Okay? So, yes. A person can be deducted of his service of sentence more than 30 days in each month. Paano po yun, ma'am? Isang buwan po, 30 days lang po or 31 days lang po ang meron. Okay? But still, pwede pong mabigyan ng entitlement ang isang tao na may additional na 15 days deduction. Okay? Sabi po dyan, 15 days deduction for each month for study, teaching, mentoring services, time rendered. Okay? Or TASTMS, allowance for study, teaching, and mentoring services. So, sa madaling salita, pagka ikaw ay isang mentor, ikaw ay isang teacher sa loob ng kulungan, yes, you are a prisoner, but then you are a teacher inside the prison, you can also be deducted 15 days for each month. Okay? Kaya nga po, meron pong nadididakan ng 45 days sa isang buwan. Okay? For example na lang, si Mr. A ay 12 years nang nasa loob ng kulungan. At the same time, siya na din ay 10 years ng teacher sa loob ng kulungan. So, ibig sabihin, sa 12 years niyang pagkaka-incarcerate doon sa loob ng kulungan, pagkakulong, okay, pasok siya doon sa 11 year and succeeding. So, that is 30 days already. So, ngayon, teacher pa siya sa loob ng kulungan. Another 15 days deduction. Okay? So, nagkakaroon na po dyan ng 45 days deduction for each month of good behavior and also for being a teacher or a mentor inside the jail or prison. Yun yung kagandahan sa mga nagiging teacher na prisoner or persons deprived of liberty sa loob ng kulungan. Once they become a teacher, yan, entitled sila sa TASTMS or Time Allowance for Study, Teaching, and Mentoring Services. Kuha po ba yun? Okay. So, next, we have also, okay, in addition to GCTA, ito pa po guys, a prisoner may also be entitled to another 5 days per month deduction from the sentence he has to serve when he has been classified as trustee or penal colonist. Okay? Pagka ikaw ay kumbaga na-promote na bilang isang trustee or mapagkakatiwalaan, okay, sa loob ng kulungan, pwede ka pang mabigyan ng 5 days deduction kada isang buwan. Okay? This is provided by Act number 2489, otherwise known as the Industrial Good Time Law. Okay? Another, take note, pag ikaw ay life imprisonment, okay, you will be also automatically reduced to 30 years imprisonment upon being classified as trustee or penal colonist. So, ibig sabihin, pagka ikaw ay naging katiwa-tiwala sa loob ng kulungan, okay, pero ikaw ay life-termer, ibig sabihin, walang hanggang pagkakakulong yung iyong sentensya, pwede po yun ma-reduce into 30 years of imprisonment na lang. So, di ba ang ganda ng good conduct time allowance? So, ang daming benefits as long as you are showing good conduct or good behavior inside the jail or prison. Okay. Under Section 98 and 158 of the Revised Penal Code, special time allowance. Iba naman po ito sa good conduct time allowance. Okay? Special time allowance under article or the Revised Penal Code, Section 98 and 158. Okay? Sabi po dyan, special time allowance for loyalty equivalent to 1/5 of the sentence shall be deducted. So, take note, 1/5 ng sentence mo ang pwedeng madiduct. Okay? For example, you have 10 years sentence. So, alan ang 1/5 nun? Pwedeng maging, ang deduction ay 2.5 years. Okay? Ang pwedeng madiduct. Okay, ano ba yung mga circumstances para mapasok ka sa special time allowance? Okay, ito po yan. After the inmate abandon prison due to disorder arising from conflagration. Ibig sabihin, yung inmate ay inabandon na or umalis sa loob ng kulungan dahil sa conflagration. So, when we say conflagration, ito po ay large fire. Nagkaroon ng sunog. Siyempre, di ba? Nagkaroon ng sunog, hindi ka aalis. Hahayaan mong matusta ka sa loob ng kulungan. So, no. So, if the inmate abandon the prison, okay, during catastrophe, during conflagration, or even earthquake, okay, nagkaroon ng earthquake, nagkaroon ng explosion, pagsabog, or similar catastrophe, or during mutiny in which the inmate did not participate, voluntarily submits himself to the authorities within 48 hours following the issuance of proclamation announcing the ending of the calamity. For example, September 1, nagkaroon ng sunog sa loob ng kulungan. So ngayon, within 48 hours, nag-voluntary siya na bumalik sa loob ng kulungan. O, diba? Loyal. Kaya nga siya tinawag na special time allowance for loyalty. Okay? Yung loyalty mo doon sa loob ng kulungan. Bakit nga ba, diba? Nagkaroon ka na ng chance na makalaya. But then, after 48 hours, na wala nang sunog doon sa prison, nag-voluntary ka pa rin bumalik doon sa loob ng kulungan. Okay? So, pag ginawa mo yon, you are now entitled for deduction of 1/5 doon sa natitirang sentence mo. Ganda, diba? Pero ano bang mas maganda? Tinuluyan mo na lang bang tumakas or yung bumalik ka? Okay? So, still, mas maganda kung bumalik ka kasi nga that will serve as your loyalty. You will be entitled for loyalty deduction. Okay? But here in RA 10592, okay, iba naman po dito. Ina-amend niya yung Article 98 and 158 of the Revised Penal Code. Kung kanina ay nagkaroon ng sunog, for example, and then after 48 hours, bumalik, okay, entitled siya ng 1/5 deduction. Ngayon naman po, pagka yung inmate na yon nagkaroon man ng catastrophe, nagkaroon man ng calamity, ng sunog, ng explosion, ay hindi pa rin umalis, hindi pa rin tumakas sa loob ng kulungan, o diba, kahit matusta na siya doon, hindi pa rin umalis, yan, mas malaki ang entitlement mo for a special time allowance for loyalty. That will serve now as a 2/5 of deduction. Kanina ay 1/5 deduction lang. Pero ngayon, pagka sa RA 10592, naging 2/5 deduction na doon sa natitirang sentence mo. So, mas malaki ng konti ang magiging deduction mo kumpara doon sa luma na Article 98 and 158 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay? Another Article 99 of the Revised Penal Code, sabi po dyan, GCTAs and STAs are granted by Director of Corrections. Like what I have said a while ago, ang mag-grant lang po ng good conduct time allowance ay ang Director of Corrections. Okay? So that is for good conduct time allowance and special time allowance. Okay? Please take note of the different topics na na-discuss. Ayan, yan po yung chart para mas maintindihan. Pag under ng Section 98 at Section 158 ng RPC, 1/5 deduction lang for special time allowance for loyalty. And for RA 10592, that is 2/5 deduction. Okay? And number 4, continuation po doon sa part ng causes of partial extinction of criminal liability. Another is number 4, parole. It is a release from imprisonment but without full restoration of liberty, as parolee is still under custody of the law although not in confinement. So, ibig sabihin, hindi ka po dyan totally na free or malaya. Kumbaga, you are still under our government. You are still under our law. Kasi nga, even you are not longer in the confinement or in the institution, pag nasa community ka na, under ka pa din ng ating batas. Okay? Parole consists in the suspension of sentence of a convict after serving the minimum term of the indeterminate penalty without granting pardon, prescribing the terms upon which the sentence shall be suspended. If the convict fails to observe the conditions of parole, the Board of Pardon and Parole is authorized to direct his arrest and return to the custody and thereafter to carry out his sentence without deduction of time that elapsed between the date of the parole and the subsequent arrest. So, ibig sabihin, no, pagka ikaw ay nabigyan ng parole, still meron kang conditions kahit na ikaw ay nasa community. Kagaya din po yan ng conditional pardon. Okay, wherein nasa community ka but still you are strictly necessary to comply with the conditions set forth ng board, okay, for parole, okay? Doon po guys, kapag po na-violate mo yung condition na yon at ikaw ay bibigyan ng recommendation na i-aresto ka ulit, okay, hindi po ibig sabihin nun na isi-serve mo na lang yung natitirang sentence na kasama po yung pagsaserve mo sa community. So, hindi po. Ibig sabihin, for example, na-serve mo na dati yung 6 years ng imprisonment mo, yung pinaka-minimum. So, ngayon, doon sa pinaka-total na punishment mo or penalty mo na 20 years, okay, 20 years ha, pero ngayon, pagka ikaw ay nung nabigyan ka ng parole, nakaserve ka ng sentence sa community ng 4 years. So, 10 years na sana yon. Hindi. Okay? Ang mangyayari dyan, kung binigyan ka ng parole noong 6 years mo, ibig sabihin, yung 14 years na natitira sa original na sentence mo, ang kailangan mong iserve ulit pagka ikaw ay nakulong sa loob ng kulungan. Hindi po mai-add yung sinerve mong sentence sa community. Kasi nga po, nag-violate ka ng conditions. Nagets po ba yon? So, ulitin ko ha. Example, nakaserve ka na ng 6 years na sentence mo doon sa 20 years na original. So, ngayon entitled ka na. Kasi sabi po dyan, you need to serve first your minimum sentence before granting parole. Na-serve mo na yung 6 years. So, ngayon, nasa community ka, 6 years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Nung 10th year mo, nag-commit ka ng crime or na-violate mo yung kondisyon. Okay? Ikaw ngayon ay aarestuhin ulit at ibabalik sa kulungan. So, ibig sabihin, yung sinerve mong sentence na 4 na taon dati, nung nasa community ka, hindi po yun maia-add. Okay? Doon sa isa-serve mo ulit. Kumbaga, yung na-serve mong 6 years dati, i-continue mo yun hanggang matapos mo yung original sentence mong 20 years. So, ibig sabihin, 14 years pa ulit ang isa-serve mong sentence. So, imagine, simple violating of conditions, pwede ka kaagad arestuhin at ikulong. So, what will you choose as being granted by parole? Diba? Nabigyan ka lang ng pag-asa na makalaya eh. So, anong gagawin mo? Alangan naman, mag-violate ka pa ng mga kondisyon. Okay? Nakasama mo na yung family mo. You are still giving them all of the necessities. Nilang mga pangangailangan kasi nga nandun ka sa kanila. Kasama mo sila. And then, you violated conditions. You commit another crime. Okay? Yun yung mga reason bakit ka i-re-arrest at i-re-incarcerate. Okay? Aarestuin ka ulit, ikukulong ka ulit. Ang masama pa doon, isa-serve mo pa yung original sentence mo, yung natitirang original sentence. Hindi po mai-add yung sinerve mo sa community. That is your consequence for violating the conditions of parole. Okay? And another is number 5, probation. Okay? Probation is just like parole and conditional pardon actually. It is a disposition under which a defendant after conviction and sentence is released subject to conditions imposed by the court and to the supervision of a probation officer. Okay? Disposition under which a defendant after conviction. So, ibig sabihin, to be entitled with probation, dapat ikaw ay convicted by final judgment. Ibig sabihin, nabigyan ka ng hatol. Okay? Ngayon, sa probation lang po guys, take note lang po ang probation, ang qualified lang po dyan ay yung may sentensyang hindi tataas sa 6 years. So, ibig sabihin, 6 years or not more than 6 years. So, ibig sabihin, 6 years below. Yun po ang mga entitled sa probation. So, yan po, pwede po niyang iserve yung kanyang sentence sa labas ng kulungan, which is the community. So, ngayon, meron pa rin pong mga condition. Nandyan po, subject to conditions imposed by the court. Sabi dyan, okay? So, meron pong mga terms and limitations na kailangan niyang sundin habang siya ay nagsuserve ng kanyang sentence sa community. And, take note, he is under supervision of a probation officer. Sinusupervise ka niyan, minomonitor ka. Okay, nang sa ganon, malaman or makita kung ginagawa mo ba yung mga proper, ginagawa mo ba yung mga condition, are you following all of it? Okay, and so on. So, yun po yung mga iba't ibang causes ng partial extinction. Okay? So, as a review, causes of total extinction of criminal liability, we have death of convict, service of sentence, marriage of the offended women, we have prescription of penalty, prescription of crime, we have also amnesty, we have also absolute pardon, and express repeal of penal laws. And for causes of partial extinction of criminal liability, we have probation, we have parole, we have commutation of sentence, and all other forms of causes. Okay? So, please be updated for more video, and in the next video, we will be discussing the chapter 4 of our subject, non-institutional correction. So, please be updated, and thank you and have a good day.